All right. Up next, we have Mike Gaines to talk about jXchange. Mike.
Thank you. So I realize that the only thing between you and lunch is me. So I'll take care of you. I'll try to get this done in 2 hours. So good sessions, right? Amazing speakers. So this is my family picture. I have a family, but so I've been at Jack Henry for a really long time, and I was thinking about this presentation, and I realized that I had spent 2/3 of my career at Jack Henry and jXchange, and that just kind of blew me away. I've spent so much time with it before it became jXchange, and I was involved in the POC, and I'm not the father of jXchange. I was there at its birth, and I had the privilege of naming it. So what is jXchange? Technically, it's just a set of web services that sits on the server. In and of itself, it's really not spectacular. It's a gateway. It is your access to another world, the Jack Henry ecosystem. It performs some very basic functionality: authentication, authorization, and message routing. It does not perform any business level functionality. So a lot of times you're thinking maybe if you're integrating with JX and you get a response back and says this account's not found, or some other type of error like that, that's not jXchange. jXchange is just the bridge, it's the gateway, it's the middleware to Jack Henry cores. Thank you, Mac, for ruining that for me. And all of our complementary products. So I want you to understand it's not just to the existing banking cores, it's to all the complementaries that have services out there today. Before jXchange, we had peer-to-peer communication, and it was ugly, it's untenable. It really wasn't sustainable, and we knew way back in the early 2000s that we needed a new solution. We needed a better model that we could move forward with that would really open up the integration for us. And that's what we built. It's hub and spoke model today, and this is how it exists today. This is what we built. It gives you access to all these other products. It's scalable horizontally, vertically. We have versioning, much stronger security, a much better model for that. I want to talk about a couple of terms that are very common use when we talk about integration, and they're important for you understand some things I'm going to talk about later in the slideshow, but also as integrators, when you're communicating with Jack Henry or developer relations or support, to understand these terms, because we have dealt with folks and they reverse them or crisscross them. A consumer, if you're calling the API, you're the consumer. The provider is who's responding. So most of the time, unless there's some error at the gateway level, that is the provider. So our cores, complementary, they're the providers of the service. You may be providing the service with your application that's integrating, but when we talk about integration with JX, these are the terms. The other one is a solution. So when you develop an integration model and you're going to sell it to our mutual customers, you have a needs. You need to know you have API requirements and you have provider requirements. We keep track of that and we give that to our operations team, and they will use that, and they call it a solution. And so every time that you need a new install at some particular financial institution, they will reference your solution and say, oh, this vendor, this FI needs these providers and these APIs provision for their integration model. We went live with JX in 2006. In Winfield, Kansas, we had one institution at the time, one solution and one provider, which was Silver Lake. Today, you can see we've had some incredible growth, almost 4,000 institutions. Not all of those are legacy banking and cores, but a lot of that is attributed to the payments and bill pay. Almost 33,000 solutions. That is just a phenomenal growth. There's so many integrated products that exist out there today. And 60 providers. And what's unique about that provider stat is not all of those are Jack Henry products. We do integrate out with other third parties. We have, I think, almost 10, and we are adding more. And roughly 1,000 APIs. That's incredible. So who's using it? Well, we have 200, you can see the stats here, 242 companies that are using it, 110 institutions that are developing their own integration solutions that they're building, and 160 Jack Henry services and products that are using it. And that in and of itself doesn't seem that remarkable in and of itself, but I'm missing a slide. Well, this slide that was supposed to be there, so how much more? Jack Henry is using 5 times more API calls than any other company or third party or institution combined on a monthly basis. So we are using the same APIs that we've made available to everyone else to consume. So we're eating our own dog food, so to speak, for lack of a more elegant term. We've also grown in our gateway offering. So jXchange on the left, you can see that was the original, the OG. It is SOAP-based. It is forward and backward compatible. So the things that you've developed to your particular versions and the gateway can be different. And we always maintain backward compatibility. That's one of our major tenets. Security is a username, password embedded in the SOAP body. Very simple. We've expanded into the API gateway, and you heard Mac make mention of this earlier. It is for our net new products. It is not pulling in the SOAP into that. It is just for REST services. Uses the OAuth 2.0 authentication model. We have the Swagger-based documentation are out there. And for edge cases for development teams that really they want to integrate into the legacy cores or the complementary products, which are SOAP-based services, we have REST legacy. We have a solution out there for those groups that say, well, I'm REST only, I like that model, I really need it, so we have a solution for you. If you need to consume the SOAP services, we really recommend that you do that natively, but if you can't, we can accommodate you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about patterns and behaviors and how things are configured. So this is a screenshot of our management console. And this is something either if you're an in-house institution and you have access and you're managing your own gateway, you would see this, but primarily this is our operations team. And the way, in jXchange Gateway, all of our gateways are multi-tenant. So it's not one gateway per institution or per integrator. So the institution itself is the root of our multi-tenancy. So if you are integrating a product, we will add that institution in here, and we will set up the providers that are relevant for that institution, and then we will add the consumers. And so one of the things that we can do is that we can accommodate holding companies, multi-bank environments, and if you have like a UAT or a test instance of your core, and you want to integrate with that and test and keep that as your test bed, and not test against production, we can accommodate that. And majority of our institutions have some type of UAT there. So if you are integrating and you don't want to test and you want to use your own data, jXchange can accommodate you in getting into your UAT systems and run in concurrently. So I wanted to show this a little. This is another screenshot. When we set up the consumer, and this is part of the solution information that we've gathered, the operations team or the financial institution, if you're running it in-house, will come in here and you'll provision the particular APIs that is being consumed. So we look at the solution, we say, you need these 15 or 30 or these 100 APIs. They're configured here so that you're only getting access to what your solution is required and what is needing. There's a little further refinement when we get in here, and we use our identity management service for claims. And I don't know if you can see that down there, but it says valid consumer name and valid consumer prod. And that is a values that Jack Henry issues to every integrator and for every product that's integrating. And we use that for further authorization purposes, and we use it for, the big reason is for usage billing. So we don't charge install or maintenance for jXchange. If you want access to jXchange, you can get access to it. We're not gonna charge you any of those large fees. The way we do charge, our revenue model, is based on API calls, and we call that usage billing. Some of you out here already are familiar with that model. It's every time you make an API call, it goes into the usage billing tracker for that particular institution. It's not exorbitant fees. We have ceilings on those costs. It can't just run crazy for an institution. They're like, oh, what happened? Somebody called a bunch of APIs all the time. And ran rampant with them. That's not going to happen. There are ceilings, and we're not trying to. This isn't a giant revenue model. We're not trying to float the whole Jack Henry boat with this, but it is the way we do it. And one of the things that developer relations is we tell integrators this is why you need to be efficient with your API calls. Don't call an API if you don't really need it, or call it in the right order, or use an API that might get you the information more than in one API call, instead of making multiples with another. So it's really important that you are using the right APIs in the right sequence and properly. This is a SOAP request, and this is something that I think we've done that's unique, is we've built in some extension points. So if you're familiar with Jack Henry data, that you know that there's a lot of information at our account level, customer level, especially loans. This is a deposit example where if you're looking at a UI, there's screen after screen after screen of information. Well, that's very heavy from an API level. So if you're calling that and you're getting all that back, but you don't need all that. You just need a piece of that, or what might represent one screen of information. How do you do that? So we've designed in these complex requests so you can request those. And so you want to reduce the payload on the response, and this is how you do it. And so when it comes back, this is what you would see. You can see the little box up there in the top left. There's still information here, but you're not getting back everything that's relevant for that particular account. And it makes the API calls much more efficient. So error handling and fault is you're going to generally get two types of faults. You're going to get like a general SOAP fault that's going to come from the jXchange gateway itself. There's a communication error. There's a authentication error, which is the example I have here, where you're not getting your account's not valid. This is an Active Directory error, actually. It's telling you that something's wrong with your username or password. The other is a SOAP fault that Jack Henry we have designed, called the header fault, and you can see the body here. And this is going to come from all of the service providers, and they're going to tell you that, oh, you made a request, and they're going to echo back the values that were on the request that was part of the routing, and it's going to tell you why it failed. And it's going to give you an error code, an error category, because not every error is the same. Some are warnings, some are overridable. So you can request that an error be ignored. That's one of the nice things about the APIs. And it'll tell you what element caused the error and where in the code in the provider that the error came from, which is very helpful from a support standpoint. So now that I kind of showed you, where do you go? How do you start? So you've heard this already. We have jackhenry.dev. And this is an enormous wealth of information that we have out there. Probably 80% of your questions can be answered by looking here. We have everything that, all of the APIs are documented here. We have tutorials, so very common scenarios. You can go out there and say, well, I want to know how to perform a certain sequence of activity and get to an end result. We have tutorials that we're adding to all the time. We have workflows or diagrams that tell you what API to start with. I need to create a new customer and then an account. What's the order of an API calls that I need to make? XML examples. Almost every API we have that in the SOAP examples, we have embedded multiple examples of what those API calls can look like, because some of them have different input values and they might look a little bit different. Download files, we have in the download, we have the contracts. So you can come out here and gather the WSDLs and the XSDs and start developing. We have a glossary, because a lot of times developers are not bankers and they don't necessarily understand all the terminology. So we've added that out there, very helpful. And then another one of the things that we've done to make things helpful is that, if you're not familiar with Jack Henry terms, you don't know what synergy or synapses, or you don't know what core director means, those are difficult to find the APIs and what they support. But you might be familiar with customer, account, imaging, cards, payments. So we've grouped these and created a navigation to help you find the right API that you're looking for. I wanted to show you this. This is a really cool tool that's on the portal, and it performs basically two major functions. One, for every banking core, SilverLake 2020 and Core Director, all of the APIs out here, for each of their APIs they support, this table will tell you what elements of a given API are available for that given core. And so you can come out here and search, and it has the request and the response, so you'll know what inputs are available for that provider. The other cool thing that this does is it will give you the translation. So you're the banker, you're familiar with Jack Henry naming convention, the file names, the column, the field names, those are very familiar to you, and that's the language you speak in. The developer is speaking in XML. They're talking in XML elements, and what is this? I don't find that. What you're telling me, I don't find that in the XML, or vice versa. You can come out here and find the translation. So if you're looking for a service charge code, you're talking in a bank terminology, you can come out here, you can search, this will filter the table for you, and you'll find that it maps to a product code element name. So very helpful in that manner. A lot of people don't know this is out there. It's really helpful. These are other products that are available you're hearing about today. They're available on the dev portal. Something else that we've done that is really, really cool is that we have added a public Postman collection to Postman's public API network /marketplace. We're adding to this almost daily, but you can, if you have a Postman account, you can come out here, and we have instructions on the portal with direct links and what you to do. But you can come out here and you can fork this into your own and play with it and do whatever you want. And you need to make changes or modify it to help you develop your API calls. You'll notice that we've added a very important one over there called ISO 222. Some of you might have heard about that little project that's going on in the financial world. But we have a lot of APIs out there, and we've made, on the portal, we've made over 500 pages of documentation available on ISO 222. So if you're consuming those APIs, we have a lot of documentation available. So you're going to have questions once you get to this point. What's next? Developer relations next. So who are developer relations? What do we provide? Who are we? We are your technical experts, your subject matter experts. We're the team that helps you understand which APIs, which products, beyond just the gateway. How do you use it? You know, who do I contact? What am I? I need help with the developer portal. I need help finding information. We also are the ones that manage our development environment. We call it the DMZ. So it's accessible over the internet. It doesn't require any restrictions. We just have to provide you with a username and password. But on our development portal, we have access to all the cores and all the complementaries, and so you can test your integration fully before you roll it out to a production site to one of our mutual customers. These are the primary steps that come along with a development project. You can, we kind of give you a starter pack. We call it a quick start guide. We provide all the guidance. At the end of your development cycle and you're ready, hey, we need to go, we give you a consumer readiness test. And what this is just to make sure that you're going to be a good integrator in our ecosystem and you're going to follow certain guidelines to give our mutual customers a consistent experience with integrators. We will take your solution and any other requirements that you have for configuration in production, and we'll give that to our operations team. If necessary, we'll have an internal meeting or have a three-way meeting with you to talk about your operational requirements. And then we will track your first few installs just to make sure that everything is going well and everything's working from an integration standpoint. So if you want to sell to our mutual customers, you need to be a member of our vendor integration program. This provides boundaries and guidance and expectations for all integrators and for our customers. This is only for fintechs and third-party vendors. Our financial institutions do not need to be a member of the VIP, but this is only for the others. If you're going to develop and you want to sell a product to our mutual customers, you have to join the VIP. And this, like I said, this gives the boundaries, gives you access to developer relations, and gives you, that credibility. We also will put your name on a public on jackhenry.com/for-vendors. Once you've completed your development, we'll put it out there. A lot of our customers will go out there and say, hey, what about this company? Have they integrated? Have they completed? And they can go out there and see your particular name and say, oh yeah, they're ready, they're live. So what if you want really advanced help? You want someone to, that you want staff augmentation. You want a subject matter expert to, you want direct access. You want them to almost like attend your stand-up meetings with your developer, look at your code. So we have a brand new program called Technical Account Manager. It's a common term. Jack Henry has technical account managers with Google and Datadog, and I'm sure that's out there. It is the next evolution of a program that we had before called the IDA Premium Service. So we've beefed up the services, we've expanded them, we've changed the pricing model a little bit. And I'm not going to talk about every deliverable here, but one of the things that we're going to do, we would do for you, especially for the bank side, and this is not just available for financial institutions. Fintechs and vendors can engage with a TAM as well. But if you're a financial institution, we can create an integration diagram for you, do some analysis on your current integrators, making sure they're efficient. We can help you streamline. If you're going through a conversion, we can really help you with that. We create activity reports. The direct access is really nice. You don't have to create a ticket to talk to your TAM. We use an online program where you can just message directly. We can share documents. You can see project timelines. We'll do those kind of things. The other kind of bonus feature of a TAM is that we have what's called priority queuing. So today, if you go through the install process, if you've been through that or you may or may not know that there's a backlog. And it might take anywhere from 45 to 60 days, depending upon the volume of the backlog, and that can ebb and flow. But if you are currently involved with a TAM and you have an install or configuration, your TAM will do it for you almost immediately. And you don't have to create any tickets. We'll take care of all that on your behalf. This isn't the right slideshow. I don't know what happened, but I have another huge announcement. Ben and Mac referred to this. Ben, I've always heard Ben on stage, and he's always made the comment that you can go to jackhenry.dev, you can sign up for a developer account, you can begin developing in 5 minutes. And that's true, but it's always been limited to the digital toolkit. So as of yesterday, I'd like to announce that it is available for jXchange. On the same website, you go to the top corner of jackhenry.dev, you can sign up, and you can get yourself a set of Jack Henry jXchange credentials. They're immediately active, and within 5 minutes, you can develop to our gateway. So really cool. Thanks. Yeah, and I just need to make a shout out. There's 3 guys that really worked their butts off on it. It was Keen Drake, Matt Wilson, and Matt Morrow. They knew I wanted to make this announcement today, and they did everything within their power to make it happen. And so kudos to those guys. Please come see us. These are the folks on site that would love to talk to you. If you have any questions about the VIP, the TAMs, developer relations, please come see us. Appreciate it.